Welcome to Tiny Game Chronicles episode 41.
Woo.
My name is Marcus, and here with my good friend Michael, every other week we discuss games that are quick plays but epic journeys. It is great to see you today, Michael. It's been a while. Our listeners won't know, but it has been a while since we've chatted. How are you doing, my
Yes,
friend?
I'm very well back from a well-deserved holiday. I think I was away for 12, 13 days, run about that. And now it's a week later. So as you mentioned, now listeners won't know, but it's been a while. I've missed you, Marcus, since we've
Yeah,
spoken about the games that we're playing, right? So it's good to reconnect with you. Yeah. How are you?
it is. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. As you are aware, we had a little crisis with our little
Yep.
guy. I had to go pick him up from school. He had to come home, so
Uh,
hopefully we won't. He's hanging out in the basement with his nurse right now. Yeah, I think he's doing just fine. He's just had a little bit of a tummy ache, so
Very good.
we're
Fingers crossed.
doing okay. Fingers crossed. Before we get started, though, Michael, I do have a question for you.
Yes, as you always do.
As I am apt to do. Have you by any chance, I think I know the answer to this, but have you ever been to Scotland before?
No, I haven't. I visited the wonderful island, but I have not been up to Scotland. I had a girl. My first girlfriend was from Wales. So it's not that far away.
Pretty close.
But not exactly. But not Scotland. So yeah, I think the first time I came in contact with Scottish culture was by watching Fawlty Towers with John Cleese, if that makes sense, right? He had a Scottish guest, and that was my first introduction with regards to some of the Scottish nuances that cultures have. I'm glad I could watch the subtitles when they speak. So,
have you ever had haggis? Have you had the Scottish dish of haggis before?
No, I haven't.
Wow, okay.
So something that I'm missing. But I watched the Scots play rugby, and they can play a hell of a game. So yeah, but just watch it with English subtitles, if that makes sense.
That's right, I guess.
Yeah.
So I have been to Scotland. Lindsay and I went. It's been a while now, but we kind of toured England and Scotland. We have been to the Highlands.
Okay.
We've been to Loch Ness. We did a little boat tour on Loch Ness. We went to the Isle of Skye. We climbed the highest mountain in Scotland.
Oh, wow.
Ben Nevis. It was basically just a walk up a long walk. But yeah, we couldn't see very much. It's as you might expect, pretty cloudy and a little rainy. But yeah, it's beautiful country up there for sure.
Did you see Loch Ness at all or not?
Yeah. We took a little boat tour on Loch Ness. Didn't see Nessie though. No Nessie, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
So they're definitely like this game that we're going to talk about. Yeah, so definitely bringing up some memories of the time we were in the Scottish Highlands. Go ahead.
No, I say it sounds like you can have just reminisce of your telling of Scotland. It sounds like it's a country where you can have like 4 seasons in a day, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. We did have a little bit of snow actually briefly, and this is in July, like on the summit of Ben Nevis. Wow. Yeah, it was pretty cool for sure. But before we get into talking about our game today, which was a Highland Song, we did want to mention our previous episode that we recorded a few weeks ago at this point, Piece Together.
Yep.
Really enjoyed our discussion, Michael. I really liked the story of Piece Together. Some of the gameplay was a bit of a mixed bag, but the story for me really hit home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the story for a cozy game was great.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay, Michael, let's begin our discussion about a Highland Song. A Highland Song released on PC and Nintendo Switch on December 5th, 2023. It was developed and published by our good friends over at Inkle. In a Highland Song, you play as a young girl, Moira McKinnon, who must make her way through the Scottish Highlands to meet her Uncle Hamish, who lives in a lighthouse on the sea in time for a spring festival by the name of Beltane. At its core, it's a 2D platformer, but there are many paths that you can take as you're making your way through the mountains. You must explore the environment, uncover the routes. You've got 7 days to reach the sea.
Mm-hmm.
There's even some survival elements that
Mm-hmm.
you're having to manage your health and energy, and you have to sleep and stuff like that. Encourages multiple playthroughs to see through everything and fully kind of understand the narrative that's being told here.
Correct.
It's I would say, all these kind of elements are not unique unto themselves, but the kind of the combination is unlike anything I've ever played before, Michael.
Mm.
It was nominated for the Seamus McNally Grand Prize at the 2024 Independent Game Festival. It's currently sitting at an 80 on Open Critics, so pretty well received game.
Is it a Scottish prize?
It sounds Scottish, doesn't it? Maybe.
Yeah, it does.
It does, but this is a kind of a pretty prestigious indie game award. So, okay, Michael, we start out our conversations by asking ourselves 3 questions. What did you play a Highland Song on? About how long did it take you to beat? And what are some high-level thoughts you have about the game?
So I took this game with me to France on my Steam Deck, and I started playing it on the Steam Deck, obviously in a very different environment, nothing like Scotland, south of France, as you can imagine, right? Wonderful blue azure colored water. We were blessed to have sunshine, and so I think the only cold that I experienced was by playing this game and being confronted with different types of weather that we had there. I would say that this game is a cozy walk, joke, where you have a little bit of a tension in this walk because you have a deadline, right? You need to, and I think the game is very clear about it, you need to reach the lighthouse within 7 days. So there is or 7 in-game days, if that makes sense. And so it's a kind of a teen runaway story figuring out who she is as she crosses the hill. And I would give this game an alternative title, and that's going to be called Getting Lost Before Beltane. Because Marcus, I got lost, and I think it's actually totally okay. I don't think that I was ever going to mainline directly to the lighthouse. I'm just the type of player, and we spoke about this in the past. I like to draw outside the lines. And so if there is something for me to discover, I would rather follow that curiosity rather than to beeline it to the lighthouse. And it makes you think about aspects of things that you can or can't control. It made me think about aspects of leaving home, what it was like from moving from continent to continent, also being on my own for the first time. And also what beyond means for a character like Moira, because the edge of a world was the lighthouse. And something that the game is ambiguous about is, did you ever go beyond that? So yeah, how was it for you, Marcus?
But first, I don't think
hours.
Yes,
just over 5 hours. Sorry about
just
that.
over 5 hours. That's okay. Yeah. So I also played this on Steam Deck, and I think it worked pretty good on Steam Deck. Good Steam Deck game, no complaints there. How long it took me to beat? It was about 4.5 hours for me. Just played through one run. High level thoughts. I really walked away from this game feeling like I really enjoyed the experience. That's not to say I don't have some things that I don't know, kind of trying to resolve. Probably we'll work this out a little bit in our deeper discussion here, but like you mentioned it a little bit, there is a bit of a tension, I think. Like the game wants you and encourages you to explore, like because there's lots to see, but you're also at this deadline of you got to get to you want to kind of reach your goal in 7 days. And so I'm not sure where I stand on how that choice, I guess, to design it like that. But like I had mentioned in the intro of my description of the game, they combine a lot of elements in a way that I don't think I've ever experienced before. And I really appreciated that. And I liked exploring, and I liked climbing mountains, which we've talked about. I love climbing. So anytime you get me a climbing game, that I didn't actually realize that going into this game. So
Neither did
that was
I.
a
Yeah.
very pleasant surprise. So yeah, overall positive experience, but not without some little quibbles, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brief reminder for folks to let them know how we talk about games on Tiny Game Chronicles. We like to identify 3 things that we think particularly stood out about a game, do a deeper dive discussion on each of those 3 things. And most of the time, we will do so here. No spoilers in terms of the narrative about this game. There's some, I think, some stuff actually that you won't understand. And I
Mm.
frankly didn't understand about the narrative
Mm.
because I only played through this game once. I think like to fully appreciate the narrative, you really do have to play this game through multiple times. So
Correct.
um, I don't
Mm.
know that I could spoil it all that much, even if I wanted to, I guess is where
Yeah.
I'm kind of going at.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, let's get into our standouts for a Highland song. The first standout is we wanted to talk a little bit about the route finding that
Mhm.
is present in this game. So like there
Or
are
not.
or not, like there are a lot of different ways to get to the lighthouse that your ultimate goal, right? And you're exploring, there's different ways that you can traverse the area. There's a couple of ways we could go with this. How do you want to start our conversation, Michael, on just the route finding that you have to do in this game?
I think let's just start with regards to how our experience was per se, right? And maybe there are other ways, and I think the game encourages you in further playthroughs to maybe utilize, some of the things that you discovered from your first journey, if that kind of makes sense, of finding or going to the lighthouse. So, I mean, first of all, it's quite clear that there's no mini map, right? There is a zooming in and zooming out to where you are, although you do find some pieces of maps, either hand drawn or sketchy, that gives you a hint with regards to where to traverse, maybe to the next layer. So it's a little bit like Never, if you've played Never, with regards to the background, the outline of it. And Marcus, so my experience was, and I think Never is a good example, you kind of think, okay, well, the lighthouse, at least I thought, the lighthouse must be when you play a platformer, right? You go right, it's probably right at the end of platforming, right at the end of right.
Yes.
And so I said, well, you know what? I'm a curious guy. I think I made a decision pretty early that I would spend some time investigating. And I mean, I did not know how long is a game day with regards to 7 days, right? So the game is divided into, I think, early, dawn, early morning, midday, early afternoon, early evening, and then the game encourages you to sleep, right? So, but that was part of my discovery. I didn't know this, so I went off left. Yeah, only to obviously discover it comes to a dead end.
Pretty quickly,
And
I remember,
pretty
because I did left. I went left to start too. Yeah.
exactly. Kind of like, okay, is there a hidden waterfall and can I go behind it? But none of that, unfortunately. Yeah, and so not unfortunately, it took me a while to figure out what this game wanted from me, and the game actually requires of you to travel. If you're looking at your screen, north, right? If north is straight ahead of you, other words, deeper into the layers that come behind the hills that you're climbing or traversing. And it took me a while, and it could be that I don't know, I missed maybe the opening screen, no, because I think that the light out is clear and then it zooms to where you are, and I might have missed the depth, no, that was required. I just thought left.
Yeah.
Sorry, right. No, so that's what my initial experience was, Marcus. Before I continue in a monologue, I mean, how was the start for you?
Yeah, I didn't struggle understanding that I needed to go like deeper, kind of to the next layer. So maybe to kind of elaborate that a little bit for the listeners. Basically, it is a 2D plane that you're in, and you kind of like there's like another 2D plane, like the
Behind it.
next valley behind it, right? And
Correct.
so, but within the 2D plane that you're navigating, that you're walking kind of left and right, as Michael had described, there's also some depth there too, right? Because
Mm,
like you can um you can see if you pull the camera back, you can see which routes you're able to ascend
to
or go up
traverse,
and down to
exactly.
traverse. Yeah. And some of them are kind of like a little bit behind the plane that you feel, or like where you're standing,
Mm,
or a little bit in front of the where you're
mm,
standing. And you can almost kind of like shift different levels. It's almost like that 2.5D platformer kind of
correct.
style. I'm thinking of like Little Big Planet or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of move forward and back within the plane that you're on. But
Mm-hmm.
in addition to that, you can like shift entirely different planes. And that's actually the goal of the
Yeah.
game, is to kind of keep moving back and
Right.
deeper into the highlands until you eventually get to the sea, right? Um, and so I didn't have that much difficulty like I it did I guess I got it pretty quickly, like that
Mm,
I needed to move into the plane behind the one that I was
mm,
on and keep
mm,
making my way. Um, but some of the ways in which you traverse to the next plane, those were a little trickier to
correct.
solve. Like those early ones, I think, were found a little bit easier, but then you really have to. And there's multiple ways to do this too. You could maybe go through a cave that allows you, and you uncover a path that might be hidden in a bush. You're finding these map pieces which help to also illuminate like different ways to get to the next area, right?
Correct.
And some of those had stumped me for a little bit. Like there's one plane in particular, I can't remember the name of the mountain. It was probably like maybe 2/3 of the way through
Mm.
the game. Like I was just going back and forth, left and right. I'm like, I don't really know where else I'm supposed to go. Did I miss a map earlier that was supposed to like highlight an area that would allow me to go? Eventually I found it, but it took me a bit to get there. And
Same here, Marcus. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So um there's also some pretty interesting mechanics. Like there's almost like a rhythm game that comes up through this as you're
Mm.
finding your way and you're trying to navigate and explore the environments. There's this rhythm game where
Yep.
you're just traversing and kind of climbing the hills. What did you think of this part, Michael?
So this must be my favorite part of the game, just because there is a very clear change in pace, right? With regards to the game where we meet Moira, and I'm going to lift this curtain because it's right at the beginning of the game that she kind of leaves her home, right?
Right.
In a way that she doesn't have permission, right? So she flees, and this is very much a coming of age story per se. And I love this because we meet a Moira that is timid, that is maybe afraid to be out for the first time, and is kind of confronted with these Scottish Highlands, right? With everything that comes, with it. And for me, it's a shift that I see happening within her, where we move from, should I even be here? Am I allowed to be here because, someone is scared, just having left home, to uh, what do I want to do, or what do I want to try next? Like an emboldened move to kind of, go through this journey. And this aspect that you are talking about is the fact that there are some rhythm runs within the game, right? So where we struggle at the beginning and we need to be careful and jump and slide, and it costs us a lot of energy. There are these rhythm sections, usually accompanied by a deer or some sort of animal that you're chasing.
Yep.
You can actually increase the speed of your run. And then the Scottish music, really traditional Scottish music, starts. And the way that you get into, I think the best way that I can describe it, Marcus, a flow in your
Yep.
running is to press the jump buttons to the beat, if
Yeah,
that
it's
makes
all
sense,
it's all
right?
timed to the beat. It's very reminiscent. I'm gonna maybe
Yeah,
reference a
let's do
game that
it.
I wasn't going to expect to reference twice in the episode, but there are some Little Big Planet episodes
Yeah,
or
exactly.
levels that are very reminiscent of the type of level and this rhythm mechanic. So you're platforming. It tells you to hit the button and jump like at the certain parts on the beat. There's a very famous Rayman Legends Black Betty level where it's very similar to this. So you're basically doing it. And for me, I like that you kind of took away like this almost the symbolism, a very apt kind of thing. Michael taking away the symbolism. I just found it fun to play. Like I found it was really kind of fun to just run and time it and play these short rhythm sections. Like, I don't know, you explored a little bit more than me, so you might have engaged with them. I want to say I had like 7 or 8 of them throughout the whole my whole playthrough. Like, it wasn't a ton, but it was nice to just kind of break it up. And it also one of the nice things about it was that if you had to traverse a large section, those tended to be the sections that had these rhythm components. So you were able to get from one side of a map to the other side pretty quickly because you're doing this rhythm mini game almost. But yeah, it's fun, and that it really the music kind of shines through at that point. We'll touch on that probably a little bit later in more depth. But yeah, the other thing that you're doing, I want to, before we wrap up this standout, because there's a lot here, is we're climbing mountains, which there are, I think, 36 mountains that you can climb. You get a little stats thing after you finish the game, and basically you want to climb these mountains because climbing the mountain allows you to take a look at any maps that you've found and then identify things on those maps. So these maps are almost like little like a treasure hunt sort of map, right? They might identify like a X marks the spot for something, or something of note, where it might be an item that you could find. It could be like a pathway through to the next valley. It could be a cave or something like this, right? And so you want to be able to be climbing these mountains so that you can help identify these locations on the map that you should be probably trying to find and engage with, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there are all tons of little secrets that you can find. I want to just go just 1 second, one last sentence back to the kind of flow states that we experience going back and forth. What I appreciated is they were indeed kind of fast travel options to go to the next level, or at least close to a point where you could traverse right to the mountain level behind. The thing, though, that the game didn't warn you about is that you could return. This is when I was starting to get lost, right? I realized, or I asked myself, have I traversed this region before? So you can actually speed run to and back to where you were. With a different song, if that makes sense, right? So the songs changed. I'm not sure whether you noticed.
I don't think I caught that. No, I don't think I caught that.
So, and I'm not exactly sure whether. So this is what I picked up. It could be just the way that it played for me. There is a. So let's quickly spend some time with the nature of these songs, right? These songs communicate some sort of joy and victory because they are jovial.
They're
rhythm songs, up tempo, exactly. When you return, at least this was my experience, it's much more of a ballady side of the song. So it's almost like it's definitely not. I mean, there's a rhythm, but it's not an up tempo happy song, right? So maybe that was the sign for me to say, "Hey, mate, you're not going."
You're going the wrong way,
direction,
dude.
Exactly. Yeah. So just as something that I picked up, but this is definitely for me a journey of emancipation, because the Moira that leaves her mother's house and the Moira that arrives at the end of a journey at the lighthouse goes through a inner transformation, and this kind of victory song as we go through those musical jumps and find our route. There are not many of those. You mentioned, Marcus, there were quite a few, right? So the biggest part of the game is a struggling Moira with regards to, I don't know, risking it, not falling, not having the full map, going from, I don't know, hill to hill, peak to peak. And we see a lot of that kind of self-doubt. We see the tiredness. And ever so now and again, and maybe this is kind of true of life, we see her in a flow state. We see her at her absolute strength, where she's full of confidence. As long as you're in the rhythm, right? If you miss the rhythm, then unfortunately you stumble and fall. And I loved seeing this kind of juxtaposition in her development. So yeah, very nice one.
Yeah, very good. Let's move on to standout item number 2, Michael. And we've already touched on this a little bit, but we definitely wanted to expand. And this is like this time crunch that the game puts you under, right? It tells you right at the very beginning, you are, as Moira, are going to the sea. You've got to get to this lighthouse where your Uncle Hamish is in time for Beltane, which is 7 days. You got 7 days. And I felt like this, again, created a bit of tension because the game really feels like there's so much to explore and you want to watch or you want to be able to see all these secrets and find and not miss anything. But at the same time, it's telling you, you've and every day it ticks down. There's a clock, like it keeps reminding you, you've only got
exactly
5 days,
4 days,
Beltane, 3 more days, 2 more days, and I'm like,
exactly.
So what I found myself doing is certainly initially was rushing through because I wanted to see if I could get to Beltane in the time that I had. And honestly, on reflection, and from what I've heard other people talk about this game, I'm not sure that it's realistic. It's probably possible. I'm sure it's possible, but it's not realistic on your first playthrough to get to Beltane. And I was under the impression, Michael, too, I've told you this offline, that the game would end if you didn't get there. So I was like, I want to try, I'd do my darndest to try to get to Beltane. If I had known from the beginning that, there's likely that you're not going to get to Beltane, take the first run or two, the first playthroughs to just explore. And then if you want to try to get there on in time for Beltane, you can do it. But I would strongly recommend new players, don't worry about Beltane that first playthrough. Like probably not until like playthrough 3, 4, 5, if you go that far, because you're going to miss way too much of the experience. And I think like it didn't sour my experience by any sense, but I don't know. I think that I would have enjoyed taking a more leisurely approach in that first half of the game had I known it wasn't going to really strongly penalize me that much. Like it certainly wasn't going to just end the game and make me start from the beginning, which is what I didn't want to happen. So
I'm totally with you, Marcus. I actually don't know whether you are intended to play this game in order to finish it within the allotted time that the game gives you. I know that there is a plot or part of a plot that you're able to find out if you arrive on time. I think there are some more secrets to discover if you arrive on time. And this kind of made me reflect. I don't know whether we could go there or can go there, but this really made me reflect that when we do our city trips, right? How do we approach city trips per se? Because we are there for a limited amount of time. I'm thinking of Paris specifically. There are some highlights that we want to see in the allotted time that we're there. So there we have the element of time pressure, right?
Yep.
Right in. And I kind of find that, and unfortunately, many Germans, when we travel with other German families on holiday, they tick like that, right? They say, okay, well, let's get up at 8 o'clock. We're on holiday, right?
Yep.
Have breakfast at 9 o'clock. We'll drive to point X. It'll take us 5 hours to get there. We'll have a cup of coffee, and then we'll return 5 hours later. Whew.
Yeah.
I think a journey is really made up of wrong turns, if that makes sense. If I just look at what makes life interesting, and I'm just really just reflecting on myself, kind of knowing that I never found the perfect route for my life. I don't think that is possible for me. I also don't think that is interesting, because getting lost in Paris, I think there is nothing greater than discovering aspects that are, I don't know, that you didn't plan for, that are surprising, that maybe take your breath away, and it's something really authentic in that discovery, right? And so for me, this is the way that maybe the hidden message that the developers kind of had in mind, that one journey isn't enough. It's really about trying to absorb what the Highlands were all about. Now, going back to the game, the Highlands are too big, right? The clock too tight to discover. And I mean, you've been to Scotland, all that Scotland has to offer. So the game quietly nudges you towards multiple runs. I think that if you beeline it, you don't really spend time to absorb what you are exposed to, because you're always racing towards the next hill, the next shortcut, the better route. And unfortunately, many people live life like that. I mean, and again, I'm not referring to anyone specifically. I'm just looking career-wise, right, with regards to how people
I feel attacked a little bit, Michael. I'm going to be honest here.
But I'm about living an optimized life. No, that's what I'm.
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
yeah.
Lindsay's going to be listening to this and be like shaking her head. Yes, this is you, Marcus. This is you. So absolutely, I feel like I've tried to get a little bit better in this regard. But I mean, I feel like I always want to be as efficient as possible with the things that I do. I've talked about that in games. I don't want to waste my time doing things 100%. That don't matter. But when I'm traveling and stuff, we've definitely planned trips like your German friends about like, we'll do this way because this is the most optimal. I think we haven't done a ton of travel since we've had our little guy, but like more, leading up to that, I think like we did less of that. We were more like, okay, we're not going to plan anything for the morning. We'll go do something in the afternoon, but we'll kind of just go for a walk and, stuff like taking it a little bit more
experience. Easy. Exactly.
It really is. It really is. Both have their pros and cons, but like, I do think that there's something to be said for taking your time and exploring the Highlands, so to speak, a little bit more than rushing just to get to the lighthouse by in 7 days, right? So I kind of I definitely appreciate your perspective on this, because I think that there's value in the journey, not just the destination, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Having said that, we do know though, and I quickly want to bring in Inkle as a developer per se. I mean, Marcus, we've all played Inkle games thus far where we have a female protagonist, right?
Yep.
I think that there are other games where there are male protagonists, and they are all have a component where you're under time pressure. If you think of Overboard, right? There is a time pressure. If you think of Expelled, there is a time pressure to do things, and here we have it again, right? So they love playing.
They do
with this concept, right?
This time crunch and having to navigate through the game in a particular way to get to the quote unquote optimal ending, right?
Correct.
All of the games, at least that we played for the show, have this feature, even though Highland Song otherwise is very not all that similar to the gameplay that you see in Expelled or Overboard. But that kind of design philosophy of being able to have to choose the right route to make your way to an optimal ending, that's present here just like it is in those games.
100%. I think the biggest change here, though, compared to the other games, is we don't have big branching dialogue boxes where you needed to choose the correct dialogue, right, in order to move the story along.
So here you're having to choose the right route through the mountains.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it is kind of interesting seeing that DNA that is definitely that through line between these, at least these of Inkle games. They're the only three that I played. You played TR49, just not to go too deep into that.
Okay.
Does that have an aspect of that to it as well?
There's also a female protagonist, so yes, there is an aspect of you need to come to an end. I'm not exactly sure whether there is a conceived time factor without going into the details, because you need to achieve something before something comes and gets you. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to standout item number 3, Michael. And
yes,
Michael, this game is Scottish through and through.
yes.
Like, there is so much Scottishness in this game, Michael. I felt like we could not get through a discussion without really talking about how Scottish this game is. The only comparable that I can think of, we have to play it on the podcast, is that of a game that kind of really takes like its location setting to heart is Thank Goodness You're Here, that northern England kind of like setting. But this is Scottish, like the music, the dialogue, the accents, the myths, and some of the narrative stuff, the references, the environment, like it's so darn Scottish.
And I think this is what I loved about it, because and I'm gonna go into a game that we played called the Berlin Apartment.
Okay.
Where we said, and you said the lines, if you remember, you know what, the apartment is the main character. And here I actually think that the Scottishness of it is the main character, right? The like Highlands per se, right? It is not just a backdrop. There is so much depth, so much history, the shape of the hills, the legends, the voices, the characters that you meet or that you hear about, as Hamish is kind of telling the story of the land, because this is what you will experience, right, when you go to sleep, or when you achieve certain or reach certain peaks. The weather, they're all active agents, active forces in this narrative. And I think that the Scottishness is not a costume. The Scottishness is meant to communicate to Moira, and this is perhaps also the thing that causes her to grow internally, that this is a lived culture. It is not a postcard, right, that you have as a backdrop. And so this makes it a beautiful coming of age story, because it's anchored in a place, right? The lighthouse is the edge of her world, but before she reaches that, she needs to go through that very Scottish landscape, with its stories, with its festivals, with its plot, right? And yeah, so it makes, I don't know, the region makes her resilient, if that is the Scottishness kind of aids to her resilience. And it encouraged her to survive and master her environment. And I think that's what spoke to me, Marcus. Yeah,
I really like the references, like the little, like the call out, as you get these kind of over narrations often from your Uncle Hamish, who's talking about stuff, telling kind of stories, or I guess it's probably Moira is remembering stories that Hamish has told her over time in the past. And like the references to like William Wallace and Bonnie Prince Charlie, and some of the witches, and the giants Vikings. And Vikings, yes. And I loved all of those like little tidbits. Of course, maybe the biggest the rain, Michael. It's always raining. Lots of rain in Highland Song.
Scotland. Oh boy. Okay.
Made it harder to climb the rain too.
That's true.
Which I guess is true to life. But yeah. No, I think it I like your contextualization of saying that the Scottishness is the main character. The Highlands themselves are the main character, or at least a main character in this game, because it just bleeds Scotland, and I love that they really committed to that in every way.
Well done, Inkle. Absolutely.
Very well done. Yeah. Okay, Michael, we do have a couple of community standouts that were submitted for this game, so I'm just going to go and read those now. Okay, so the first one we have is from Opera Queen, and they wrote that you can get an ending in a few hours, but you're unlikely to get where you're going on time on your first try, which again,
Oops.
probably
Yep.
probably should have paid attention to that. The rhythm games and the licensed Scottish music were my favorite parts. I wish you could play these from the menu. I'd just be interested in dipping in to play those occasionally. Also, my daughter never saw the good ending, so I was thinking of trying it again with her. Love to hear that, Opera Queen. Thanks for sharing that one.
Yep.
And then we had a second one from Slugcat Stew. Slugcat Stew said, I played this a few years ago when I was homesick for Scotland. I'm pretty sure Stu is from Scotland. And was very grateful to hear Moira's beautiful Scottish accent and also to spend some time in my beloved Highlands. So they obviously got it right for Stu to create some homesickness, I guess. But
absolutely,
yeah. So thank you, both Opera Queen and Slugcat Stu, for sending those in. If you, listener, would like to have your standouts from the game that we're playing read out on the show, Michael puts a call out in our Discord. So you just have to join the Discord and respond to that with any of the things that you really liked about the game. So thank you to those who've done that, and we'll keep posted for future games.
Absolutely.
Okay, Michael, we'll just wrap up our discussion here on A Highland Song. We end our discussions by asking ourselves if we recommend the game, and if so, to whom?
So it definitely gets a big thumbs up for me. If players like, slow, grounded games where walking, climbing, and listening, are part of the story, and you enjoy that type of exposure, by all means, this game is for you. People who love a strong local flavor and something that is unapologetically Scottish in sound, language, and landscape, right? As Slagatsku mentioned, then yes, this game is for all the Scottish people or are in relation to the Scottish culture. This game is for you. Fans of Inkle, because Marcus, we did not really speak about the writing, but the writing again is
very good,
top notch,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
So if you want to again be exposed to really superb writing, then this is for you. And I think if you're okay with playing with a little bit of time pressure, kind of doing messy first runs, and you have no issue with kind of replaying games because a few replays are needed. I'm not a big friend of that, and I must say, that is the one thing that, because there are so many games that I want to play, it's kind of maybe doing the game a disservice because I won't be jumping straight in, even though I truly enjoyed it. But I'm going to leave it for, sorry for the pun, a rainy day. I will definitely jump into it again. And I think what the game leaves in my thinking, or at least my takeaway, being off the optimal route, if this encourages you to play it, isn't failing the game as Marcus discovered, right? It's really how Moira grows. It's how you travel, and where you find those real stories, right, or those blessings on windy peaks that you will find. And so growing up, truly meeting a place, getting lost in Paris, for example, and finding your own song, if that makes sense, in all that is happening around you, where you're not truly in control, where you are lost sometimes. I think that is something that adds to your own particular story. And it's about, right, making the things that are happening around you part of your own story, which will be unique. And I think this is what the thought or the sentiment that the game leaves me with. Yeah. Marcus, how about you?
That was really well said, Michael. I don't have my thoughts are pretty similar to yours. This is a really strong recommendation for me. I also am not somebody who loves replaying games. I'd like to get back to this at some point. I'm not sure that I will. Maybe I will. Maybe a rainy day. But this is so unique for people that love games who probably are listening to this podcast. This is probably not like a game that you've played before. And for me, that I put a high priority on those types of experiences. And um, this is one of them. Like this is right up there. Like I really enjoyed my time with it, even if I might have had some frustrations in terms of like that time crunch, in terms of the necessity of replaying. Like even
Mm.
if this is all that I have and all that I ever do with this game, it was definitely worth the 4.5 hours that I spent with it.
Yeah.
And it was largely quite enjoyable. So pretty big recommend for me for a Highland Song.
Very nice, Marcus.
Okay, Michael, that's it for episode 41. A little bit of housekeeping before we wrap things up here. Of course, we would really appreciate it if you shared, liked, subscribed, and left us a 5-star review wherever you happen to be listening. Aside from that, you can follow the show on Blue Sky at Tiny Game Chronicles. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Marcus O'Neill 79. You can also follow me or find me on the other two podcasts that I do. Hype Factor, a fantasy critic podcast that I do with my good friend John, where we talk all things fantasy critic. It's a monthly show. And the other show that I do, Brothers from Another Mothership, I do with my 3 other great friends, Ron, Matt, and Quag. Basically doing a lot of arguing about video games, talking about video games in general. So we have some topics. It's a lot of fun. Also a monthly show, although we do put out a bonus episode from here. It ends up being probably every other week or so for that one. Michael, where can people find you?
So you can also find me on Blue Sky under Drellish, DRELLESH, as well as on our Discord. And a link to our Discord, our tiny community, will be in the show notes. So you're welcome to join us. I think we had, 2 new visitors, members joining us last week, Marcus. And it's
great.
It's great that they are there, and So more of that, please.
More of that, and tiny game recommendations. Like it's been a while since we've kind of highlighted that on the show, but we love if you've got a tiny game that you think that we should play, or even just recommend to the community, pop into the Discord and tell us about it, because it could end up being one that we play on the show. And if nothing else, you're letting some kind of like-minded people know about these other tiny games that we want to spread the word on. So
absolutely.
Aside from that, you can also follow us on YouTube. We put our largely unedited episodes there. We have some shorts that go up from time to time as well. And if you still haven't gotten enough of Tiny Game Chronicles, we're also writing articles for so many games. So we have had a recent article go up for the game Pony Island that we played a couple months ago at this point. So if you want to see kind of Tiny Game Chronicles in written form, go check out somanygames.co.uk. We have a special Tiny Game Chronicles monthly. I think our regular feature is going to be there. We'll be publishing an article there once a month.
Correct.
Okay, Michael, the last thing we need to do today is introduce our next game. So this one is developed by ZDT. In Canada, we call ZDT Studio. Published by maybe the biggest publisher that we've done for any game.
Correct.
Konami, Michael.
Yep.
In this game, you step into a cinematic adventure as a brilliant octopus trapped in a mysterious industrial world. And the name of that game, Michael, is
Squid Games. No. It's called Darwin's Paradox.
Paradox.
Just recently released.
Yeah. Fairly high profile from showcased a little bit at the Sony State of Plays a couple times, and came out, I would say, pretty positive reviews, but not like anything exceptional. I'm quite curious to check this out. I remember when it was first showed off, I think it was last summer. It was like one of the highlights of whatever show it was a part of for me. And then it kind of came and went pretty quickly. So we feel like, we found out that it was like, I don't know, be doing 4 or 5 hours to beat this thing. And we're like, that's tiny. Let's play this one.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think, I dabbled in it a little bit for half an hour just to get a sense of the game. I would say that if you enjoyed Nemo, the animation movie, there are tons of inspiration from Nemo, I would think, and combine a little bit of Little Nightmares into it. Marcus, the 30 minutes, I just had a constant smile on my face. So if you're looking something that is upbeat, and this is it. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to jumping in probably on the weekend. I think in a few days we'll get that started.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, Michael, I think that's everything for today. I guess I'll just end by saying thank you for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with Darwin's Paradox.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.